Hi guys, so I just want to go quick a few things about the Nintendo Switch 2 that's going to be released on June 5th, 2025. And you're going to be able to soon start doing pre-orders. So the first thing I want to talk about is really important. It's the thing that many of us will complain about since the Nintendo Direct earlier this week, and I was not happy about. So some Nintendo games, digital copies, are going to be $80, and some so-called physical copies are going to be $90. That's insane. That's a whole new industry, modern day prices for games now that expect Sony and Microsoft to do the same thing, and everyone else. It's unfortunate. So I talked about here how Nintendo decision to charge $80 for Switch to exclusive Mario Kart World is just a normal thing now. So Mario Kart World separately is gonna be basically $80. Yes, I get it. There's it's a new game for the Nintendo Switch 2, the Mario Kart World, but $80 is too much money. It's unfortunate. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond Switch 2 Edition, something I've been excited about. I was happy about was seeing Metroid Prime 4. We've been waiting for a new Metroid Prime game for a long time. At least I have. And I own the Metroid Prime trilogy, which I have for the Wii, which basically comes with the first two Metroid Prime games that came out for the GameCube, and the third one that came out for the Wii. I had the metal casing, and the CDs themselves are also special edition. One day I will show you guys my physical Wii collection of games. It was a lot of money because unfortunately I bought it afterwards after release, and the first day it was released was $50. I didn't have the money at the time. It took me years later to get it, and I had to spend over $100. I think it was around $150 to get those three games. Even that is still cheaper than buying two Switch games at $80 each. Crazy, right? But yeah, so I'm so excited for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond Switch 2 Edition. I'm excited for that. It did look good. I love Metroid Prime. Big fan of it. In general, I love Metroid, and the Prime series might be the best from the series. Even though I love classic Metroid from Nintendo Super Nintendo period as well, and some of the classic Game Boy ones to DS ones. It's a great game. So it should be coming out sometime in 2025. I don't think they have a specific month, but I'll talk more about that in another link. I have several things to talk about. Everything today, like per usual, is gonna be in my description. So some things are basically gonna be just skimming through it. Some things are gonna read more thoroughly, but it's mainly just skimming through stuff. Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 Edition per Star Cross Road, $80. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, $70. I already have Breath of the Wild for the Switch, and I had Tears of the Kingdom for the Switch as well. So I don't know if I'm gonna buy the special editions. Super Mario Party Jamboree, I think that's how you pronounce it. Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, plus Jamboree TV, $80. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, $80. It's a lot of money for just a little bit better versions of games that already came out for the Switch. Like that's a lot. If they only were like 56 bucks maximum, I'll be okay with that. But $80 is a lot. It's pushing the beyond the limits. I don't agree with it. So that's basically this article from IGN from April 3rd, 2025. Next thing I want to talk about is what's new on Nintendo Switch Online for the Nintendo Switch 2. So the main thing that I noticed that was really new is now game chat. Now game chat is gonna be free to use without online membership until March 2026. Now that's unfair because the Switch 2 comes out in June 5th, 2025. So technically, you're only gonna be able to use game chat for less than a year without online Switch services. So if you don't pay for Nintendo Switch 2 online membership, you will not be able to use game chat after March 2026. I think that's unfair. They should have done it from at least I'll say no earlier than July 2025. So you have a full year to actually be able to utilize. Should have been July 2025 to July 2026. Something like that. I think that would be fair. But that's me. I think it was a little bit greedy for Nintendo. So don't expect to use Game Chat after March 2026 without Nintendo Switch to online membership. You're gonna have to pay for it. But in the end, what Game Chat means, now you can actually chat with people with the console. The Joy-Con, which is also bigger now, Same thing with the Switch 2 is also big. I'll talk about the specs in a little bit. If you press the C button on the Joy-Con, you basically activate game chat and you can talk to people that way. Cool. You know, another new thing about Nintendo Switch 2 online membership, now we get to have Nintendo GameCube. As part of it, Nintendo GameCube is a great console. I don't think it was the best of its era. PS2 is still way better than the Nintendo GameCube, at least in terms of game library, way better. The PS2 just had amazing game library. Honestly, the Super Nintendo and the PS2 are still my favorite home consoles of all time. They just were bangers with games. Just one amazing game after another, just badass game mechanics, graphics, soundtrack. It just everything was amazing for the Super Nintendo and PS2. PS1 was also good. Original Xbox has some pretty decent games. I love the Dreamcast. Love the concept also. First home console to actually have online service, so you can play games online. Sega Genesis. I used to have a Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo in Brazil, for instance. I used to play that a lot. So I love a lot of these consoles, but the Super Nintendo and PS2 are still the best in terms of actually wow me, like moments. The Super Nintendo and PS2 really, really excited me the most for the game libraries and new game mechanics. No other consoles thus far really gave me that level of holy crap, this is amazing. Yet those two are really pretty much equal to each other. I think they were the best so far, but that's my opinion. So that's the new thing about Nintendo Switch 2 online membership. With the expansion pack, right? We basically had something like that before. This expansion pack with the GameCube the GameCube will also have Soul Calibur 2, F Zero GX, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker Classic. Some people may have bought the HD version for the Switch. I didn't, but some people may have. Um, to be honest, I felt like the Switch could have better library. So I think the Switch 2 is gonna be ramping up more. So I didn't buy as many games for the Switch as I did for the Wii. Um, Also, the prices were much cheaper for the Wii and things like that. But even though the Wii didn't have the amazing third party games either, the Switch did have more. Now, Nintendo was doing some unique stuff also with the online membership. Something I like with the expansion pack. So the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom will have some cool stuff that you can do specifically for those editions. So actually something new. So changes to the Nintendo Switch Online app. So the Nintendo Switch Online Smart Device app will now be renamed Nintendo Switch app. Makes sense, more to the point. Um, it will also have game-specific services for titles like Splatoon 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and more specific, what I really liked in the Nintendo Direct. I thought this was cool. Not necessarily needed, but the Switch editions of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom will have Zelda Notes. Basically, Google Maps. Zelda Notes is basically Google Maps or Apple Maps for Zelda. So I understand that some people complaining that Breath of the Wild just threw you there and no explanation. I love that. It reminded me of the first Zelda game. I'm a huge Zelda nerd. Uh, had Zelda shirts, Link figurines, and I've been playing Nintendo since a long time, for decades now, since I was in Brazil. I'm now what 31, and so I've been playing games for a while, for a couple decades, if not more, at least at this point, over 20 years. So trust me when I say that I've seen a lot of improvements on games since the late 90s to now. There've been huge improvements, but when I say Super Nintendo and PS2 are the ones that impressed me the most, I really meant it. Not because PS3 is not great, it is. Xbox One, cool also. I enjoyed the GameCube, the Nintendo 64. There are a lot of these consoles I enjoyed. The handheld was also really cool, but I honestly feel like the Super Nintendo and PS2 were the most amazing. PS4, great. PS5 has some amazing ass games with beautiful graphics, awesome FPS, frame per rate, awesome those games. Some games can even be upscaled to 8K. This may be one that has slow frame rate, but that's super awesome. But something about Super Nintendo and PS2 game titles, the library were truly out of this world, in my opinion. To this day, I still feel that way. So the Nintendo Switch 2, you'll be able to have access to most 100 screenshots and video captures via the app. making it easier to share them with others. One thing they trying to really make the Nintendo Switch 2 more than ever before you can argue for any other Nintendo game system, they try to make it very social, interactive. They really want you to be interactive with your friends and family, which is cool. I love that. This is a great idea. It makes me feel like it's worthwhile buying the Nintendo Switch 2 expansion pack if I were to buy the Nintendo Switch 2 because of all these additional features. And with the game chat, if you don't feel like using cell phone, you can use a game chat to talk to people. Press the C button, Joy-Con, cool, you can talk to someone. You don't need to have that, but that's cool. You want to have Zelda Knows, Google Maps, the special edition Zelda games for the Nintendo Switch 2, cool, you can have that. It's a lot of cool features. GameCube now is gonna be part of it. It's good. I don't know what the price is gonna be. Probably more, but let's see how it goes. Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart World Bundle. So the Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart World Bundle is gonna be $500. Just the Switch 2 by itself is gonna be 450. So the main thing I want to show you guys regarding this is not necessarily the bundle, is all the accessories with it. So this is all from Nintendo website. So Nintendo Switch 2 all-in-one carrying case right here is $80. The Samsung Micro SD Express card, 256 gigabytes, $60. One thing I will talk about also, I probably mention again when I talk about the specs, you had to have a micro SD card that's express version. I have micro SD card for my uh, previous cell phone that I had before, the SNE and the Nintendo Switch, but they're not express. You had to have the micro SD card that's express. It has to be micro SD express card because that's the only way it's gonna work on the Switch. They probably want higher speeds to properly load the games and all that. It's gonna be new requirements. It happens. Um, it is kind of pricey for the amount of gigabytes, so look somewhere else. Don't get the Nintendo version of it. Just get a regular Samsung Micro SD Express card. They're usually cheaper. Um, you don't have to buy immediately the second you get the Switch. There's not gonna be that many games, so I probably worry about it maybe more next year. So look into Cyber Monday, Black Friday for sales. Nintendo, and I think that's it for Nintendo Switch 2 stuff there. Now, like I said, the regular Nintendo Switch 2 system is $450. That's something I mentioned, and that's it for now. I saw Nintendo Direct, they're saying how I think it was Nintendo, not Nintendo Direct. I'm sorry. I read somewhere else that the Joy Cons are gonna be around $80 or something like that. Controllers are not gonna be cheap. The camera is also not gonna be cheap. Nothing super cheap. Here the price again for you guys to see. Uh, this is just more information. Obviously, June 5th, 2025 is the release date. Some more games are gonna be released later. Just more information about that. It's a lot of stuff uh, that be coming out. More things we're gonna know as time goes on. So what's the latest game that will be coming out for Nintendo Switch 2? We already know Mario Kart World is coming out as a bundle. So that's gonna come out immediately June 5th, 2025. Obviously comes out with Nintendo Switch. 2, unfortunately, Nintendo doesn't really make too many cool bundles. They just make with Mario and that's it. They used to, but now it's just Mario. Why not make, a Zelda? What about Metroid Prime? And I know it's coming out later, but I feel like they should have done better bundles as first release. It's always Mario. But Donkey Kong Bonanza, I thought that was cool. July 17, 2025. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. Loved it. This is something I'd be excited for. Sometime in 2025. Kirby Air Riders. That's gonna be coming out at some point in 2025. Drag X Drive, summer 2025. Not excited for that one, but interesting. I was excited for this at first, the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, because it's basically like a demo that shows you how to use the Nintendo Switch. Cool, you play the demo, you learn how to use the Switch, the ins and outs of it, get used to it. Unfortunately, it's not free, so you had to buy it. I was disappointed afterwards. I was like, "Oh, this would be a cool bundle with the if you buy with the bundle with Mario Kart World, it comes with this also. You can learn how to use the Switch first before doing anything else. You have to buy that. I think it's like 15 or so dollars. Why? It should be a free demo, just something to for you to have an idea how to play the Switch. Why pay that? Again, it's very greedy. Consider the price. If you're gonna sell a bundle for $500 or a Switch for the original Switch 2, just the system itself for 450, at least have something like this for free as part of it. That would be cool. And it's not. So I was obviously disappointed. and the Ducks Broods. So Dusk Broods, I saw that too. Available in 2026. I think this one remind me of Castlevania. That's what I was thinking. I was watching with my wife. Sadly, no. Sadly, now with watching I told her it remind me a lot of Castlevania. So, how do you transfer data to Nintendo Switch 2? Again, this will be part of my description. This gives information how to do it, the system transfer. So you can transfer your games and any digital games that you have purchased on Nintendo Switch, along with the save data, which is cool. So you don't have to worry about losing that lease. Uh, you can also transfer your parental controls and all the settings as is, which is cool. However, game chat settings will need to be adjusted. You need to have Wi-Fi connected, so or direct internet connection on the Switch. So make sure you always have internet before doing any transfer. Do not do these transfers without internet service. You're gonna fuck things up. It's trust me, things like that happen, and it fucking sucks when it happens. Good luck on fixing the problem. This just as a spirit for the game chat. So have internet service, please. Don't make that mistake. Game share. This is a cool feature. I love this. So if you own a game for certain games that you own on the Nintendo Switch 2, now you can share up to three other people. So you can play a game, right, that you own on the Nintendo Switch 2. Other people don't. Well, they can play locally. You can allow three other people to play your game without them ever owning the game. As long as they have their own Nintendo Switch 2 system, you can play. You can test the game out now. You can share it locally. It's very cool. So you can receive the share game locally, as shown over here. Very cool thing to do. This is very fair. This is a cool feature that we should always had. We kind of had this, in previous consoles before, like, oh, you can just put this game inside your console. But this is more a local share without you have only the game and it's all wirelessly. So I like it. This is good. There's something we should always have since at least the Switch, if not since the Wii U. But hey, better late than never, right? So share line via game chat. Which games can be done? Big Brain, you can do that. Uh, Not Super Mario Party Jamboree. You can share locally, but not online via game chat. So keep that in mind. Clubhouse can be shared also via game chat, not just locally. Game chat can be with Captain Toad, Treasure Tracker, and Mario Odyssey also. So that's cool. Some games can be done like that. That's a good feature. Game chat. I spoke about this. You press the C button on Joy-Con, for instance, you activate it. You can do this with a group up to 12 people. That's gonna be so chaotic. Think of Super Smash Brothers Ultimate and how chaotic it is when you have like 8 people playing at the same time. It's fun, but it's so confusing, and you can never play your really 100% your best when you have so many people all over the place. But cool feature, chat instant with the C button. You can just press the C button, for instance. You can immediately activate it. Smile with the camera. The camera just makes you kind of have zoom for the Switch 2. It's literally the camera allows it to play as if it has zoom. It looks a lot like zoom. If anyone watching Nintendo Direct, see, that's with the camera. I think the camera costs $35, if I'm not mistaken, to buy it. So you can have a zoom feeling while playing games. Virtual game cards. The virtual game card feature for Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 system adds some of the flexibility of physical games cards to a digital game library. If you have two systems, you can digitally eject and load games from one system to another. You can even lend games to members of Nintendo Account Family Group. And, menu, move your game between systems, lend games to members of Nintendo Account Family Group. That's good. Now, my issue with the so-called physical games is that a lot of these physical games are not going to be an actual physical cartridge, right? We're not using CDs, and we're really using cartridges because that's how it is with the handhelds, and we don't really have proper cartridge with the actual game in it. You're gonna have to use a cartridge for some games, probably maybe for all the so-called physical games. You're actually downloading the game from Nintendo Store, so you're always just renting what supposedly is a physical copy when it's just renting a digital copy of the game that costs $90. So $80 is gonna be for some digital copies of such games. Some they're gonna be 70. Expect a lot of the new ones to be 80, and physical copies that are gonna be $90. You're never gonna fully own it. pretty much. You're just gonna download from Nintendo Store and then allow you to play it for now. Not real actual physical cartridge. There are people, that have like Super Nintendo cartridges that still work to this day. That's not fair, I don't like that. That's a huge complaint they can have on Nintendo. Now, this can be the technical specs, right? Specifications. So the thickness of the Switch 2 is the same as the original Switch. It's a bigger game. So the system. So the Switch 2 is bigger than the original Switch, but it's the same thickness, which is cool. That was a good thing they did. Doesn't weigh that any really that differently. Obviously, gonna weigh a little bit more considering once they had the Joy Cons and all that. Well, yeah, so it has a CPU custom processor made by NVIDIA. So NVIDIA. Yeah, that's I think the same thing they always had before. I don't know what the CPU GPU is. They're not specifying there. It's gonna come with 256 gigabytes. Honestly, this is very little. I know the original Switch was 32 gigabytes, but 256 gigabytes is nothing. It should be 1 terabyte. For the price, 450, 500, I expect at least 500 gigabytes or terabyte. At 256 gigabytes is still a lot of freaking money. My phone has 256 gigabytes. Like it's not impressive. They sold as if it was a Nintendo. I was like, oh, it's 8 times the storage. It's just 256 gigabytes of internal flash memory. It's not really impressive. That's if it was at least 500 for the system itself, and maybe with the bundle was like a terabyte, I'll be more impressed by it. So against wireless Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth in TV mode, the Switch 2 can be connected using the wire LAN port on the dock. Typical Savio output. It can have a maximum 4K resolution at 60 FPS on TV mode. So 60 frames per second, that's FPS. 120 FPS. I believe when it's like 1080p when it's less resolution. Suppose HDR10. When it's handheld mode, it can at least have 1080p with 6 FPS, which is cool. That's better than before. Audio output, uh, sound effects. This was something I want to mention. So Nintendo had to talk about how when you play in the handout, even if you don't have like a headphones with surround sound, the Switch itself is built so that it can give a bit of a surround feeling, even without headphones or earphones. Very cool feature. I don't know how well that will work. We will find out as people are testing it out during the summer. But that's very cool. It's like a building speed, not just a building speed, but building surround sound effect in the system itself. So if you carry it around just as a handout, that's very cool. So it's a cool thing. Um, I like that idea. Building mic, for the voice chat and stuff. Something I also want to mention. They talk about Nintendo Direct. You can now charge the Switch 2 on the top of the Switch 2 system or on the bottom. So you have two different ways to charge the actual Nintendo Switch 2 itself. Before you couldn't do that. So that's also good. So two USB-C ports. So the port on the bottom is used to charge the console and connect to Nintendo Switch 2 dock. The port on the top is used to connect accessories and to charge the console. Very cool. A very good idea. Auto jack, we already know about that. Game card slot, we already know it has to be express. Micro SD cards, micro SD express card. Don't forget that. I'm highlighting here. I want you to really understand. Has to be express version. Up to 2 terabytes of it. Um, talk about more of the sensors. Another thing too I want to talk about when you dock the Switch 2 on the dock itself, it has a fan in the dock. So that fan inside the dock will keep the Nintendo Switch 2 cooler and will not be malfunctioning as much. So that's very cool. So your Switch 2 should not be feeling as hot potentially as the original Switch. Again, very cool. And it looks like it has a larger battery. I think this battery is larger than the previous Switch. Average battery life 2 hours to 6.5 hours. It depends on the game, how intense games are. Keep that in mind. Charging time 3 hours while the sensor is in sleep mode. But you can charge while playing the game, whatever game you're playing. More ports. Talk about the Joy-Cons information. Um, they're magnetic to the Switch this time. Hopefully that works well. We'll find out. They have Bluetooth. They can also be played. So when you have the Switch Joy-Cons, you can play like a mouse. for certain games. Probably for some Monster Hunter in the future, or the games that are like MMORPGs or shooting. Maybe that might work well. The mouse sensor with the gyroscope, we'll find out. It still has vibration, HD Rumble 2. The charging battery, approximately 20 hours lifespan. Cool. Takes 3 hours and 30 minutes to fully charge the Joy-Cons. That's fine. Size here for the system. Yeah, no, cool. Register interest to buy from my Nintendo store. So if you more information about this, they will give more information about that. But what I want to go over about this link is a frequently asked questions. So this is going to give information about the frequently asked questions you should know about Nintendo Switch 2, right? Like when will I be notified about my invitation to purchase the Switch 2? Well, in US and Canada, you have to be at least 18 to register, to be allowed to register your Nintendo account. So make sure you have a Nintendo account and register for this. The first batch of invitations will start going out May 8th, 2025, with additional batches of invitations sent periodically until purchasing on my Nintendo store is open to everyone. So again, first come, first serve, but if you are eligible, you register to be informed, you could be one of the first bit to, if you want to pre-order right away. So who meet the price? Invitees will have 72 hours from the time when the email is sent to complete the purchase. Cool. So I could be one of the first people. As of April 2nd, 2025, you must have been the one who purchased the any Nintendo Switch Online membership, etc., etc. I don't really care for this, and I'm not expecting to pre-order the Switch 2. That's gonna be honest. But I'm just letting people know who want to. Type of payments: Apple Pay, Nintendo Shop gift cards, credit cards, stuff like that. Can I pick up in store? So you can make the order to be shipped to you. PO boxes in the US and Canada. It's also available. However, these My Nintendo store orders cannot be picked up at retail locations, including Nintendo New York or Nintendo San Francisco stores. So just keep that in mind. When will I receive my Nintendo Switch 2 order? Again, don't expect to get it immediately on June 5th, 2025. You probably won't. Will probably be after June 5th, 2025. It will be released that day. Don't expect to be delivered on the same day it gets released. So invitation will be sent from this email address, no-reply at noa.nintendo.com. So keep that in mind. Pay attention to the email address. Of course, it's going to be in my description, as I already said before. So you guys are going to be able to look over this again. That's basically it for that information. Now, important information about compatibility of Nintendo Switch games with Nintendo Switch 2. So as of April 1st, 2025, uh, the number of Nintendo games that are comparable with the Switch 2 is 122. Partner games, I'm going to assume some really third parties, nothing to do with Nintendo working on them, nothing at all, publishing them, is over 15,000 games. As time goes on, there should be more Nintendo Switch games, whether by Nintendo directly or second parties or third parties completely, should be eligible to work on Nintendo Switch 2. Games that cannot be played on Nintendo Switch 2: Nintendo Lab Toy Con 04 VR Kid. Never played that, so Toy Con VR Google's accessory makes sense. So that one will not. Games with compatibility issues on the Switch 2. So games with startup issues on Nintendo Switch 2. So there's gonna be some games that are gonna have issues. I'm not gonna click on those, but I'm gonna put this in link for you guys to know. There's some games that should be working on the Switch, but yeah, some games are obviously not gonna work on the Switch too, from that were originally on the original Switch system. So parental control. I already talked about this earlier, but it will be coming back as per usual, and it should, so that you who are who for you people who might be parents, and you want to control at least some of what kids can play, you guys gonna be able to do the same thing. You can transfer a lot of the settings again from your recent Switch to Switch 2, so you don't have to lose the settings. It's just the same information. You can also restrict video chat with parental control, with who your kids can talk to, which is cool. So you're gonna have still quite a bit of control as a parent on who kids can talk to, and restrict VR mode, 3D visuals. There's a lot of things you can restrict and to do as a parent of who wants to buy Nintendo Switch 2 for the child or for yourself, whatever the case may be. All right, guys, that's basically for the video today.